Let us hit you with some figures. Sub 20 kilos, full power, 85 newton meters of torque, and a 601 watt hour battery. Cannondale's new Montera SL is the brand's first dive into the SL superlight market. But really, this thing has come out swinging. It doesn't really fit into the SL category except for the fact that it's super light because it's full powered. It's a full e-bike.
Yeah.
This thing is extremely impressive. Surely you'd have to agree.
Yeah, Cannondale have kind of made their own category of e-bike here. Going back, into last year when we first experienced some of the higher power actual SL sort of motors and that kind of thing, we're like, oh, this is really groundbreaking. This is really groundbreaking. This is what I always envisioned e-bikes would eventually become. Full power, basically full size batteries, but they ride like normal bikes now. It's crazy.
Talk about looking into the future. This thing is absolutely setting a new benchmark when it comes to this category. Now, I know Blake's had this bike for about a month now. Got it just before its actual official release date, and I can tell you from the text messages I was getting sent from the first ride, he definitely, genuinely likes this bike a lot. Now, Blake, we talked about, it's an SL for sure, but it's really pushing past that. 601 watt hour battery, that's in line with the sort of battery size that you expect on a full power.
Yeah.
And then when you consider the SL market, we've got bikes, coming out with 320 watt hour. A lot of them have that 420 for Zua.
Yep.
This thing's got a lot of juice, especially when you power or match it with that Shimano Grunty motor, right?
Exactly right. Like when we first saw the very early e-bikes coming out, like the actual capable EMTBs, they were rocking 600 watt hour batteries, but for
500 watt hour.
500 watt hour with like an extra 5, 6 or 7 kilos worth of fluff around the rest of the bike. So it's just mind blowing.
Cutting edge, mate. We've got to talk about the frame. This thing is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And really, really striking when you see it in the flesh. Yeah, the paint job's epic, but just the lines of the thing, especially that rear end, mate. Run us through the frame sort of in terms of travel spec and all that.
Yep.
And then let's talk about that rear linkage.
Yeah, so we're running a devoted mullet setup, so 29 up front, 27.5 out the rear, 164, 150 travel out of the...
So plenty of travel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's really like a quiver killer, you could say. It'll do it all, do absolutely anything. It's got pretty progressive geometry. We're really slack out the front. We've got a bit of a longer rear end, but it definitely still, like as you can see from the videos, like this thing will play, it'll flick, it'll jump, whip, absolutely everything.
Does it have adjustable geometry?
So there's no adjustment in this bike. It is a fixed geometry bike. So sort of, maybe not so modern from that aspect, similar to your Jekyll. So when that new Jekyll came out, we were like, oh wow, like they haven't included any adjustment. But I think Cannondale they've obviously spent a lot of time testing and R&D, and they're just confident in their geometry numbers that they say, I don't think you would want to adjust it, which is true.
Perfect. Mate, tell us a bit about this rear end. One thing you notice when you see this in the flesh, the chainstays here are like razor thin. Now there's a reason for that. Give us a run through of the concept that Cannondale kind of utilized in the rear end of this bike.
Yeah, so Cannondale have incorporated a flex stay in the back of the chainstay there. So while this is nothing new, like this has been sort of pretty common practice in cross-country bikes. We've seen it in road bikes over the years and that kind of thing to give a little bit more compliance in the back end. But we've never really seen it in anything with this much travel before. So you think, well, why would you? You've got 150 mil of travel. But it just adds that little bit of extra sort of vertical flex just in front of the axle, which just makes the rear suspension's job a little bit easier.
To make it kind of take out some of that trail noise.
Exactly right, yeah, exactly. So it's not like you don't actually feel the whole bike flexing behind you or anything like that. And from side to side, you definitely don't feel any flex at all. The chainstay, while it is super thin, it's substantially wider as well. So from a lateral point of view, no flex at all.
It's a super impressive. The linkage, everything Cannondale have done with this thing, it just looks real different. No wonder it took them, well, you could say probably they were late to the SL party, maybe 7 or 8 years late. This thing has definitely had a lot of R&D work done on it before Cannondale decided, all right, let's bring it to market.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the Montera SL is pretty crazy. Let's talk about how it rides.
As you can see by the footage, it's an exciting ride.
Okay.
Yeah, from the first ride on it, like I was genuinely sort of blown away. Like I've ridden a lot of this travel e-bike and EMTB, like the SL range, like they all sort of fall within this mid-travel travel range. And this one, it just blows my mind every time I get on it. I really like, I get excited to go riding. And it doesn't matter sort of what trails we're riding either, like jump trails, full-blown downhill trails, you're out for just a general sort of cross-country ride, potter around. It just makes everything fun.
Now, one of the things that turns, I think, a lot of people away, or maybe makes them a bit skeptical about investing in an SL bike, even though they probably would love that playfulness of the ride, and it's more in line with how a regular non-e-bike handles. Range anxiety, that small battery, people are like, look, I'm a bigger person, I want to do bigger rides, 400 watt hour, 300 watt hour, it's not enough. Mate, this thing coming out swinging with a 600 watt hour, that's a lot of juice. Do you reckon that's going to kind of open the SL market up to a wider kind of appeal of a rider?
I think it's going to open up the EMTB market in general, because you really are getting a lot more of the characteristics of a traditional pedal mountain bike, whilst obviously you've got as much power as you want from the Shimano motor, depending on how you set up and tune it and that kind of thing. But you've still got 600 watt hours worth of juice to get you back up the hill. Or
you got hours of juice.
Yeah, literally.
So that's definitely, I think, another big draw card. Like Cannondale, and they're not messing around with this thing.
No, they've come out swinging.
So Taylor, we've sort of said, obviously it opens up to a bigger audience of rider. We've talked about the amount of travel and how it plays. What kind of rider do you think is going to go jump on this thing and be like, holy, yep, I am home, this is it?
Yeah, the thing is it's a bike for anyone and everyone. Like, this could truly be like a one bike garage for sure. Like in my mind, like if I was to sell everything I own right now and only be able to pick one bike, it'd be the Moterra. And that's, I've got a lot of fingers in a lot of different pies. Like, I like riding all sorts of different stuff, but for me to actually be able to say, hey, look, if you had a different shock for it, you'd happily ride downhill laps all day long. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of a lighter wheel set, you'd happily take it for some cross-country riding, cross-country EMTB racing, that kind of thing as well. Like, super versatile.
Quite the chameleon. Well, this is just the midway report. Blake's been on this, like we said before, for 1 month. We've got another full month of riding to do. We've got a bunch of little road trips planned as well to take this to throw into some different styles of trail, different types of dirt and whatnot. So stay tuned. We are going to be coming back at you with a full wrap-up review of this bike down the trail, pardon the pun, in a month or so time. But yes, for today, there you have it. That's the report card so far. It sounds like about an 11 out of 10 if you had to score this bike. Sometimes it's hard to kind of make these reviews seem sincere when you're getting to ride something.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, it's a bit of a special treat. Yeah, something like this. Cannondale definitely come out with something special here. But yeah, let's see how it holds up for the next month. Stay tuned to our channel. Definitely be sure to subscribe. And yeah, keep your eyes out for the wrap-up review of this thing coming down the track.